Hello everyone, welcome to the very first episode of The Inside Show. Let's talk about our guest, founder of Dhan Chakra, author of the best-selling personal finance book Let's Talk Money, adjacent professor NISM, and also the chairperson for the SEBI Advisory Committee IPEF. Let's welcome our guest, Miss Monika Halan. Hello ma'am, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So I'm very curious and I have lots of questions about the very different things like on your book, say on career and
Shoot.
so many things. So my first question would be, how do you come up with such an interesting name like Dhan Chakra?
So the name Dhan Chakra actually is a very old concept that I've used for a long time. It basically means circle of wealth, circle of money.
Okay.
And over the years, I found that people look at money as a discrete one-time decision.
Mhm.
They don't see the linkages of the money through earning, saving, investing, then earning
Okay.
at one time and through their lives.
Okay.
So it's an interesting name for me.
Okay.
Because it gives me circularity. Money is about circulation.
Okay.
And then this Dhan Chakra is also about building that circle bigger and bigger, wider and wider. So that's really the genesis. It's been a very old concept that I've used over the years.
It is old, but it is very catchy to the new age investors also. It is very catchy.
That's good to hear.
So my second question would be, how you got the idea of starting a financial education website?
So this is basically what I've done for a long time. Earlier as a journalist, so I spent the first 25 years of my career being a journalist, first business, and then specialized in personal finance at a time where personal finance as a journalism genre wasn't really well known. So having done that as a journalist, I have got so deep into it that the education part has taken over the journalism part. Because you've done what you had to do as a journalist, you've done all of that. But then the desire to actually do something deeper than a daily paper or a daily show or a television show, something which has more meaning and has far more impact than what as a journalist one can do. So which is not to take away from what journalists do, it's really important. It's a stage also of my own career in life where I wanted to sort of build something deeper. Yeah.
So how was it now? Like, are you happy with the career transformation you had?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very interesting journey. One is teaching all of you, which has been fantastic. So that's new. I've been giving talks all my life, but teaching an academic course is a very different book.
Okay.
It is not, and a 1 hour talk doesn't require the kind of rigor that teaching a 15 or a 30-hour course requires. So it's been a very good learning for me.
Okay.
Setting up Dhan Chakra, we're still in the process of getting the website up, etc., etc. Has also been interesting.
Okay.
It's a different space to be when you're setting something up. So I've been asked that, are you looking for venture funds? Essentially, that's not what I want. I don't want. It isn't about taking this to a large scale. It's about formalizing what I do at the pace that I want to do it. Okay. It's about that.
So, what was the inspiration behind writing the book Let's Talk About Money?
Well, the title is actually Let's Talk Money. And this was a show that I used to do at NDTV. The show ran for many years. The show was called Let's Talk Money. And I have been speaking about money to different audiences for a very long time. And every time I would finish a talk, the request from the audience was, where can we read something about it? So they wanted something they could take back with them, something more permanent than just a talk. So that's where the idea for the book came. And honestly, when I looked around, I found that books on the Indian context out of our own stories weren't so many. So you had books mainly written for the American audience with their cultural value systems, their stories, their examples, but there wasn't anything much about the way that we think about money.
Right.
There is a very different way that an Indian will prepare for the future than a person who's growing up in America. Our cultural ethos is very different. So the idea was to give a very simple onboarding to average people. to understand their money, to understand uh, why they need to do basic financial planning, and not to get mired in pyramid schemes, things like cryptocurrency.
Right.
Just have a system in place. So it's actually it's a very basic onboarding. There isn't anything very complicated about the book. And for me, the success has been that a lot of times, men have bought it and they found it so easy to onboard that they've given it to their sisters, their wives, their daughters. And children as young as teens have picked up the book and understood and used it. So that's for me a great satisfaction that there is something which is reaching people, it's reaching the audience. It's not intimidating, it's not shaming, it's not scaring people into doing this. But the comment that I've got is it's like a friend is sitting and talking to you to give you sort of a roadmap. So that for me is a great moment of success.
Okay. सो आई वॉज रीडिंग योर बुक एंड आपका बुक पढ़ने के बाद में दो ऐसे कॉन्सेप्ट जो इंडियंस को बहुत ज़्यादा ही मतलब इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के टाइम पे उनको वही ध्यान आता है, वो पढ़ के मैं खुद थोड़ी देर के लिए शॉक हो गया था क्योंकि माय फादर ऑलवेज यूज्ड टू टॉक अबाउट दीज टू थिंग्स. The first thing is insurance. You have said in your book that if you don't have any dependent on you, there is no need for insurance. And the second question is, unless you have black money, there is no need to invest in Indian real estate market. So,
correct.
What was
Absolutely. These are two sort of mistakes, or it's a cultural habit that we've grown up with. The first is life insurance. You have to understand the context of life insurance. Is that when in the 60s and 70s, people got used to investing in life insurance, in endowment policies, in money back policies. There weren't that many products in the market. The mutual fund industry had not taken off. So in a market where you couldn't target long-term corpus building, this was the only instrument. Okay. Which is why there was this whole habit of investing in insurance, life insurance. But the way that the product is structured, the way that the returns are in these traditional insurance plans, it doesn't help you either with your life insurance or with investments. These are products which do well for the firms which make the products, insurance companies, and the agents and the banks who sell them. So neither are you getting good insurance cover, right, nor are you getting a good return, because the typical return that these policies give is between 2 to 4%. Now you're holding a product for 15 years and your returns are between 2 and 4%. We know what a broad market index is capable of giving. So, no, everybody doesn't need insurance. You need investment and not insurance. You need a basic life cover if you have dependents. Okay. So you have to understand the product called life insurance. What does it do? If there's an untimely death of a person whose money is funding the family, you buy a life insurance cover so that if that income stream is cut midway, there is a large enough corpus, okay, so that the rest of the family who's left behind is able to use that to live, to fulfill their goals. So typically we say that 10 times of annual income is what you need as a life insurance protection cover, which means somebody earning 10 lakh will need a crore of cover. Right? So that's literally the first message. Don't buy life insurance for tax saving. Don't buy because the agent is giving you a rebate of money back. Don't buy it because you feel sorry for somebody in the family. And that's surprisingly, it's one of the reasons that people buy policies because they say, "Bichara, usko boss se daan padegi." Like, give him charity. Why buying a policy? I never understood that. Right. So that's about life insurance. Real estate, the problem in India is that it still is one of the products which is a sump of black money. Whereas the white deals are increasing, especially in the large cities. The smaller cities, 50-60% is still cash payments. What that does is it distorts real estate prices. So one way to look at real estate as an investment is to see what is the yield that I get. Okay. Yield is your annual rent, divide that by market price of the property. Okay. The yields in India are between 1.5% and 2.5% now. Your PPF is giving you 7 to 8% tax free, right? So, and this yield I'm calculating not even taking into account the taxes the maintenance costs, and all the other expenses which a real estate property entails.
Okay.
So purely in terms of its performance as an investment vehicle, I'm not seeing the benefit of regular income from it. And capital appreciation it's a myth, because if you see the returns in the last 15 years, the real return has been negative.
Negative.
So, so that is one part. So it doesn't hold its head above water purely on the metrics of investment, uh, the performance that an investment has to give. Second is it's a very clunky asset. It takes a lot of time to find a property, to buy it. The paper has to be clean. If you're going to be giving it on rent, what if the tenant doesn't vacate? You've
Right.
got to maintain it every time the tenant vacates. If there's a leaking tap or something, so money for me is more about what time it frees up for me to do. So do I want to spend that hour fixing the tap or reading a book?
Okay.
Okay, so it's not about that highest return either. So when you put all of that together, you see that real estate as an investment is very difficult for an average person.
Okay.
So both of these products we can use. So real estate to live in,
Yeah,
as your own home,
Mm.
is a very different story than real estate as investment. People buy land and leave it. People buy flats and leave it.
leave it, right.
After time, you have kids who will fight over it. Okay, so by my age, in my cohort, the stories only are of children fighting with their 80, 90-year-old parents over property. So,
Right.
what is it about? How do you want to create assets where your kids are going to fight?
True.
Yeah.
Also, there is a lot of buzz around that there is a new instrument in real estate that is REITs. So,
Yes.
what are your views on REITs?
REITs is an excellent idea for people who don't want the bother of this physical real estate with all its black money, broker, all of those problems. The market is still very, very new, it's nascent. We don't have so many products right out there.
Right.
It is still largely commercial real estate. It's going to give you returns between equity and debt. It's not going to give you supernormal returns, but it will place it between the two asset classes of debt and equity.
Okay.
It will be a great option for people who want to invest in real estate, but want to do it through the market rather than physical real estate. I would imagine that the market will stabilize in a few years. We'll get more REITs listed,
Right.
and then once we've had performance history for say 8 to 10 years, in that, then we can be confident to start recommending it to retail investors.
Okay.
So today, REITs is being looked at by the HNIs who can understand it and take the risk.
Right.
But if we want it to become like a SIP into a large cap fund, we will have to give it time. We need to see 10 years of history.
Okay. So, if you want to be indulged in real estate, then REITs can be one of the options.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the more diversification you add to your portfolio, the better it is for a maturing high net worth portfolio.
Right.
We would like to have real estate. I mean, I would like to put real estate in my investment portfolio, but because physical real estate is so difficult, I don't want the bother.
Okay.
Through REITs and InvITs, I get a chance to do this in a clean, white money, paperless, electronic, where I just have to, in 30 seconds, you can do your transaction and be done with it. I don't want to spend going to the registration office, standing there. I don't want to do that with my investments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Investments के बारे में भी have
हाँ.
बहुत सारी बात कर ली. Now
हाँ.
let's. There is one personal question. Do you have any regrets or mistakes while starting your career and during and now, like?
Regrets and mistakes? Not really. I mean, in the sense that, see, at every age and stage, you are given a bunch of choices and you're given a bunch of problems.
Okay.
So the idea, essentially, what I can tell to all of you young people out there is that you make your choices with the best possible intentions and the information that you have. The only thing you have to do is take ownership of your decision. Don't say that it could have been like that or it might have been like this then.
Okay.
If I didn't have these problems, it could have been like that. So if you take ownership of your decision, then there are no regrets. Okay, because then you're making a considered choice at every moment in your time. So I actually left a job to look after my baby. So I was out of the working force for 7 years.
Okay.
It's actually, I mean, there's no regret. I'm delighted that I got that time out.
Right.
right? Because it was a considered decision that
Mm.
this is something I want to do. It's not a sacrifice. It's, so these are decisions you take with these important life decisions you take with a lot of thought.
Okay.
Once you take them, there's no space for regret. Okay.
So basically owning your mistakes and improving by
Yes,
time.
that's right. And unless you make mistakes, how will you ever learn?
That's true.
So you have to make mistakes. You have to learn from it. Don't make the same mistake thrice.
Okay.
Second भी चलेगा. But third time थोड़ा फिर.
Right. So any advice for the new age entrepreneurs? Like there is a lot of buzz about startup करते हैं and there are youths who are continuously daily there are multiple startups that are starting and ongoing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
any advice for them?
No, first, as a person who grew up in a socialist India, the 70s and 80s, I have to tell you it's delightful to see the enthusiasm and the energy of the startups. This is something which I can say is a regret because not personally, but because the country was strangulated by socialist ideology and thought.
Okay.
So we were not allowed to make mistakes.
Mm.
There wasn't enough space to do anything like a startup. You just went for a job and you just clung on to it with your complete might because there weren't enough jobs either. So it's absolutely fantastic to see this generation, all of you who were born after 91. You actually have been born into a different country completely, and it's great to see the enthusiasm and the energy. I'm just saying, don't lose it. Don't let a failed startup or two failed startups come in the way of you trying new things. Be safe. Create an emergency fund because you don't want to be in a position where you've taken on so much debt
Right.
that you do something silly. So protect yourself and your family by creating some pools of money which you can dip into. But this is the age to take risks. Just go all out.
So how can we like stay motivated if continuously our startups are failing? How can we stay motivated?
If your startups are failing. So one thing I found very useful is to see what is a problem that I have which I would like solved. Okay, so for example, when this whole personal finance has now become very big in my life, etc.
Right.
But my idea was let me solve it for myself first. So even in the book, everything I have written, I do myself. So if I'm suggesting some path or some products or a road, I have traveled on it myself.
Okay,
I've
so
solved it for myself. So if you face a certain problem and you see in your entire network people grappling with something, and how did Uber come about? Somebody didn't want to wait for a taxi.
Right.
Okay, and they said we can finally do something about it. So find a problem that lots of people want solved.
Okay.
And then solve it. So see, a startup for startup's sake will never work.
Okay.
But find a genuine problem. Airbnb was exactly the same thing. Right? So if there is a problem which can be solved through the technology or through a piece you put into the market, that, of course, I mean, that's one, the solution is there, but then is the execution of that solution. So that is something that you need to work on.
Okay. And what's your take on students dropping out of college to start a startup? Like, कितने अभी cases हो रहे हैं कि students कॉलेज छोड़ रहे हैं, स्कूल्स छोड़ रहे हैं, एंड दे वांट टू इंडल्ज इन स्टार्टअप्स कि नहीं मेरे को तो स्टार्टअप करना है, मेरा जो ये आइडिया है नेक्स्ट मल्टी मिलियन डॉलर आइडिया मेरा ही है. तो क्या ये उनका सही टेक है?
In my life there is no right or wrong.
Okay.
The answer literally is it depends. The only thing I can say is that there is certain amount of merit in finishing your education. So you do your startup.
Okay.
But find the time to complete that education. There's a certain logic to knowing basics of geography, history, maths, science.
Right.
Or basic building blocks open. So even if you're dropping out, you should have that I need whatever it is that I'm missing. So maybe you don't have the patience to sit through the entire year of school, but find the time to update yourself on what your cohort might have learned. Okay. So don't let go of knowledge, because that is really, really important, especially, as you grow older, you might have that regret that I should have at least finished school.
Right.
So you might find yourself wishing that that degree should have been done.
Okay.
So experiment. You have age on your side. Absolutely experiment. And nothing stops you from coming back and finishing your degree.
Right.
Okay? So just this knowledge piece, you must remember, there is a merit in knowing the basics that the curriculums have put in place.
So my last question would be, स्टूडेंट्स जो भी अपना मास्टर्स में है या फिर अपना लास्ट स्टेज ऑफ एजुकेशन में है, जो भी रिसेंटली अपना जॉब स्टार्ट करने वाले हैं, उनके लिए आप क्या पर्सनल फाइनेंस टिप आप देना चाहेंगे?
टिप तो बहुत सिंपल है
हाँ.
कि टिप मत लो किसी से किसी चीज का.
डिस्क्लेमर.
So, I mean, in terms of finances, what you need to do is you need to remember that this monkey is not going to go away.
Okay.
This is something you will have to do your entire life. Just
Okay.
take care of your money, build a plan for your taxes, have a system in place for investing.
Okay.
So the way that I do it is, first I will build pipelines so that the execution doesn't take so much time. So you've got you know what you have to do. Let's say that you're starting with building an emergency fund.
Right.
Okay. So you also need to then choose a platform that you will invest through. Link your bank account to that.
Okay.
Get the app or the website so that when you have to set it up so that every time you don't have to solve that problem.
Okay.
Okay, so the magic mantra is only that you put systems in place so that every time it's not the same problem where you have to start from zero and then solve it.
Okay.
Once you've done that, you can just extend that system to investing longer term, investing in other products. So it's just essentially having a system and actioning that system so that when you have to repeat that either investment or decision, it doesn't take that much time. It should take you less than a minute to execute the next transaction. Okay, so it's really about the ease of doing something. So even in your own lives, you find that if you're, suppose you want to work out, and let's suppose you're doing yoga, if you have to go to the next floor, bring the yoga mat, put it down, and then do, you won't do it. The yoga mat is there, you'll probably do it.
Right.
Okay, so it's just about having the setup so that you are encouraged to finish some task. So it's just about that you set up your financial life like that so that it doesn't come in the way. The clutter doesn't come in the way of you executing it. That's simply, it's a very simple rule. No derivatives, no crypto. It's just this execution. We are just frozen by the complexity of the problem. So solve it simply and then build the road which you can travel on again and again. Okay?
Crypto and derivatives, ये तो बहुत बाद में आता है. The first thing that gets in our mind is कि अरे पहली सैलरी आ रही है, कुछ खरीदते हैं.
Of course, no, I mean, look,
And usually
do not forget to celebrate. I mean, yes, your first salary, don't start, yes, invest.
Right.
But, first few months of salary can be used to buy gifts, to celebrate, to do whatever.
Don't forget
So
the fun.
don't forget the fun part of money. Money is also meant for lifestyle. It's also meant for everything. So don't let anyone make you feel guilty.
Okay.
Don't let them make you feel afraid. Don't let them make you feel bad for spending.
Okay.
Take that decision and spend. Okay, take the ownership and spend.
Okay.
But as you go along, you yourself will start wanting to invest.
Right.
But don't forget today for a possible tomorrow.
Okay.
But also remember the tomorrow which comes will need money.
Right.
So both is important. Okay.
You need more and more because.
You will need more and more. And if you keep reskilling, then.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. Time constraint है, there is much more to learn from ma'am.
No, बाकी लोग बोर हो जाएंगे. Let's try.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be part of the first ever show, and I wish all of you a lot of luck.